Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Nashville Mayor John Cooper. We're talking about the coronavirus, and this block we'll also be talking a little bit more about Metro's financial issues as a result of that and the tornado. Mayor, are we having the same problems? Is the state having the problems? Are the hospitals having problems with this hodgepodge system of all 50 states and everybody else out competing to get beds and ventilators and all the other things, the protective equipment? Are we having a problem with that too? Have we lost some equipment we thought we were going to get?
Well, I don't think we've lost anything. The hard thing with supply constraint is to get it where it's the most needed. And we don't need everybody competing with each other to have a separate kind of inventory where it's not needed. If you remember the first week of this, stores seemed sold down and didn't have enough inventory because everybody was just transferring that inventory to their pantries back at home. We don't need that phase for critical medical equipment. If we learn anything out of this, it will be to have a central process for allocating these resources. Now, the country, I think, is trying to do it, and the state is trying to do it, and it will be done. But we don't need to be, Nashville doesn't need to be competing with Memphis about some supply over here. We need to allocate those resources to the need.
You delivered your first State of Metro address earlier this week, clearly under the most unusual circumstances ever. What's it like to deliver a speech in all but an empty council chambers, no applause, almost no human interaction?
Well, Shulman and Syracuse were up to making me feel warmly accepted. It's an unusual experience. It's an unusual experience. Hope never to have to do it again. But it's needed at this time. And again, I think this is a critical moment in Metro history. I can't think of any other time with as many challenges at the same time.
In your speech, you outlined the challenges the city faces from the tornado, from the pandemic, and also in the context of Metro already having budget problems. You had to deliver the bad news that you thought that was going to mean a significant property tax increase. You didn't name the number. You ran on being a good steward of Metro's finances. How is raising taxes being a good steward?
Well, welcome to local government. We can't print money. We can't borrow money for our operating budget. We have to balance our books. We've had a practice of not really balancing our books in the past, and that had caught up to us anyway. So you just have to do it in a straightforward, financially responsible method. And stewardship is accomplishing your purpose with economy, knowing what your purpose is and making sure that you're doing it efficiently and you're completing the purpose that you have in mind. And so there's really no choice in doing this. We have to prepare and submit a balanced budget this month, the same month that the pandemic shockwave is coming through. There has to be no question that Metro is going to be funded to delivering the basic services that we're going to need through this shockwave. We are up to the challenge, and this is what's required in this environment. And I'm hopeful when taxes are finally collected, which would be February of 21, that we're on the other side of this, that where the economy is back to normal, maybe better even than ever, that the abrupt start of this problem is matched by the quick and abrupt other side of it. And hopefully, I mean, in any other circumstance, you would, of course, never increase any tax ever. But we have police and firemen that we're going to have to pay, and we have to be sure that we can do it.
So living within our means what? If we did live within our means and didn't raise taxes, layoffs, particularly of those police and firemen you're talking about, cutting central services?
The fourth quarter projected decline in revenue for the city between $200 and $300 million is so gigantic that it would of course mean more than layoffs. It would be shocking. It would be the end of the city delivering services as you know it, that level of change in one quarter. But there's a lot of financial management that can be applied, particularly if you know that you can count on revenue in the future. If you know that you're going to be able to fill up that checking account with future money, it's going to open up a lot of avenues that you have to financially work through the problem. If you didn't know that you had that extra revenue coming one day from your most certain source of income, which is property taxes, you would not be able to work through the problems that have been created by the current set of crises.
Metro government's going to receive money from the federal government under the Coronavirus Relief Fund. You're also going to get you're already getting right now, tornado disaster relief. You've also got money coming in eventually from Metro's insurance policies. You probably don't know the numbers of all of those at this point exactly, but might they be enough to be able to at least cut back on a tax increase?
Well, you don't know, and you don't know the timing. You don't know, and you don't know the timing. And the flood, the last reimbursement was 8 years after the flood. Reimbursement for expenses that you had to make to get your city back online. Because you don't know the amount and you don't know the timing, you have no choice but to go on with this process. Now, as I said, if there's a huge federal response and we have so much more revenue at a later date, then we can make the adjustments at that time. But it's irresponsible to have any other action right now. Now, the federal response, though it's in this big bill, by the time you break that out to what does it mean for Nashville and on what timetable, it's still far from clear. The tornado raised our expenses. The virus will raise our expenses, but the virus is also sharply collapsing our revenue like every other family in Nashville.
Mayor, very quickly, are you and your staff well, your family, everybody good, staying safe?
Well, we are. We have had a couple of staff members who ended up testing negative.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you being with us. And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. New commentary is posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay well and safe. We'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.